What books do you recommend 20-somethings should read, that would benefit them in life or mentally? Outliers is a good read. All of Terry Pratchett. If You Want to Laugh, A Dirty Job by Christopher Moore. Read The Catcher in the Rye before your 30s, if you wait until then you will spend the whole book wanting to punch Holden. The Gulag Archipelago. Michael Pollan's The Omnivore's Dilemma. It will hopefully change the way you eat and make you want to eat healthy. Michael Pollan, if you read this, come out to dinner with us if you are ever in Bozeman. 1984. Animal Farm. College Books. Slaughterhouse-Five. For people dealing with demons of addiction, low self-worth, or depression, read The Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson. Leaves of Grass. Foundation by Isaac Asimov. Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson. To Kill a Mockingbird. The Master and Margarita by Bulgakov. It's so unique you won't find anything even remotely like it, in my opinion. OFC. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. Really good for when you're getting gobsmacked by life. Lord of the Rings, it's a novel that doesn't shy away from the idea that heroes are flawed, broken people and come in all sorts. A book that teaches the heroism in supporting people you deem greater than yourself. I recommend any book you'd enjoy. Mental stimulation through reading is a good thing any way you look at it. That said, not every genre is for everyone, nor is reading in general. Dystopian novels had the biggest impact on me at that age. So Brave New World, 1984, Handmaid's Tale, Woman on the Edge of Time, etc. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Douglas Adams is just so brilliant in writing in a funny yet slightly confusing way that you might ask yourself which drugs he did while writing. His books are mostly a pretty accurate and entertaining caricature of human nature mixed with sci-fi. A timeless classic. Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert M. Pirsig. It changed my whole viewpoint on personal success and meaningfulness. I read it in my late 30s and wished I read it sooner. It's a really incredible, thought-provoking book. Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. Completely changed the way I look at life and how I act in my day-to-day. It's crazy that we as humans are so insignificant in this world, and it opened my eyes a lot. Made me feel a lot smarter too. A short but quite brilliant book is Jonathan Livingston Seagull, by Richard Bach. It simply tries to make you think that you are in control of your life, and it is up to you to make it better. One quote is, "If your happiness depends on what somebody else does, I guess you do have a problem." Is a book you can read in one evening, and never forget. I've been reading Watership Down lately, and oddly enough it's been semi-relatable. A story of a constant struggle to get where you want to be. This essay by Nietzsche, or indeed any thoroughgoing genuinely philosophical work. Truth and lies in a non-moral sense. One doesn't have to agree with a philosopher to find edification in their arguments. Indeed, reading only works which you agree with is detrimental to your own self-education. Nietzsche in particular is well translated. Quiet by Susan Cain. Emo, a must-read for anyone introverted. If you're worried about being introverted, shy or even anxious, you have to read this book. Something outside your comfort zone. Something popular that you don't understand the popularity. Maybe that's a romance novel, or the Harry Potter series, or 7 Habits of Highly Influential People, something you'd be a little embarrassed if your friends caught you reading it. It will be helpful when empathizing with people outside your circle of friends. East of Eden. My favorite book. I read it every few years and each time I get something new out of it. In high school I loved the story and setting. In college I connected with Cal for just trying to impress his dad and missing the mark, and Adam in his heartbreak. Now I love Sam in all his wisdom and mistakes and his family. There are just so many good characters and lessons. And Kathy is just a fascinating character every time. I wish it was longer, and that's saying something. The Millionaire Next Door. It'll help give you a much better understanding about how money works, and the type of behaviors and choices that lead to real wealth rather than the appearance of wealth. It was written in the 90s and is already a bit dated, but a ton of the points they make are timeless and broadly useful. Your 20s are the absolute best time to learn about personal finances, when you can maximize your years practicing good habits. Some people would say you should learn earlier, but for me, a lot of the lessons people tried to teach me just didn't make any sense until I had my own assets, responsibilities, and at least a little experience being on my own. Plus honestly, most people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Learn from the experts. How to Win Friends and Influence People. By Dale Carnegie. Shit, the first chapter changed my life. But it's a great book, easy read, and yes, absolutely, I think every person in their 20s should read this. The Defining Decade by Meg J. Reading this book really changed my mentality. I'm in my mid-20s, and for the last 2 years, I've been kind of coasting. I did one job interview, and took the job that was offered to me. My life overall is good, but I definitely hadn't been being proactive with my career or personal life, just letting things happen. This book made me realize I need to make the most of this time period in my life. The book also talks about how your 20s are the best years of your life to form staying habits. It really hit me that what I am doing now will affect me for the rest of my life. I've recommend this book to every 20-something person I know. The Body Keeps the Score. If they have ever experienced trauma, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, How to Not Die, The Happiness Hypothesis, The Uninhabitable Earth, makes you realize how important it is to make the best environmental choices we can right now. A Short History of Nearly Everything by American-British author Bill Bryson is a popular science book that explains some areas of science, using easily accessible language that appeals more so to the general public than many other books dedicated to the subject. It was one of the best-selling popular science books of 2005 in the United Kingdom, selling over 300,000 copies. Emo, a reading list for a 20-something who is interested in good books has no need to be targeted to their age. The older I get, the more I recognize how much wisdom there is in the classics. Most modern books are trash. Most old books were probably trash too, but the ones we still, collectively, know about and read today are the ones that have stood the test of decades, centuries, or even millennia. Read those. Not only will they teach you about life, they'll instill in you a recognition that life in the past was essentially the same as life today. The details change, but the fundamentals don't. I say this because younger people are more likely to, wrongly, suppose that there's something deeply unique about their generation and or their times that makes all that old stuff irrelevant to them. It's not. It's really, really not. It's less about specific titles and more about reading a lot of different things. One of the best things that reading can do for you is to show you the world from the viewpoint of other people. I have never lived in the South, but through books I have a window into what it can be like to live in the South. I have never been in a gang, but I have read books by people who have, and now I have a window into that world, too. The more you read, the more you learn about how other people see the world, the easier it is to put yourself in their shoes. It is easier to see multiple sides to an argument. It broadens your horizons and expands your world. Just try to avoid reading all the same types of things. Reading 100 westerns is not the same as reading 100 different genres. It's fine to have a favorite type of book. I'm always down for a good English, cozy mystery, but try to read more than just the stuff that immediately appeals. Don't just read sci-fi. Mix in some historical fiction. Mix in some autobiographies. Mix in some classic literature. You never know what will grab you. I never would have thought I would love Faulkner until my high school English teacher suggested I try one of his novels. It taught me to be willing to try a little of everything. At worst, even if I don't like it, I will always have that point of view in my always growing collection of different points of view. Just read. It certainly does matter what you read, but the act itself, regardless of the message being conveyed, is inherently an act of training that encourages you to take your time. Process visual input. Turn those visuals into words and concepts, and process those as someone else's subjective experience. It's amazing. It's like mind reading mashed up with meditation. I'm convinced that the practice itself is inherently beneficial and conducive to reading more and better material, regardless of where you start. With a little exposure/practice, you then start to appreciate really good writing, which not only appeals to you on a functional level, but an aesthetic one as well.